Hello, everybody, and welcome to the debut episode of Beyond the Paranormal Podcast with my co-host. Introduce yourself.
RhiAnna Rhose, hello.
And we also have paranormal and Bigfoot researcher and my good friend, Mr. Jeff Waldridge.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going, dude?
It's going. I just got out of the woods probably 40 minutes ago.
You might as well just live in the woods, man.
Pretty much.
Are you on the hunt today or just hanging out?
Yep, I was down there again, just kind of checking on things.
This man baits every single day. He's like a deer hunter. You know,
I'm out literally every week. I mean, that's you gotta keep digging at it if you're gonna try to get something.
So for folks who don't know what Jeff's doing, he is doing an experiment right now, to get Bigfoot or whatever, anything he can capture with this experiment. So let's talk about that just a little bit, man. Why are you doing this experiment, and why is this very important to you to do this experiment?
I have a YouTube channel that I started. I've literally been working on it for 2 years, and it's been out for probably almost 6 months now. And it's starting to really kind of gain some steam, but it's all about, Bigfoot research. And so I want to do things a little differently. A lot of the stuff that you see on YouTube and stuff is, it's for entertainment purposes, which my channel is entertaining, but it's research based. So I want to educate people while I'm doing this stuff in a very interesting, fun way. So, I put 8 pounds of raw meat out in the woods, a few days ago. That's the newest episode that came out on the channel today. It was the raw meat experiment. And it's not just to put meat in the woods and see what happens, but I wanted to kind of draw in predatory animals and carnivores and omnivores and just kind of see what effect that would have. And it did not have the results that I expected, and it, strangely enough, and we can talk about that more in detail, but I'm very, very confused about some things that are going on.
All right. So what's the things that's confused you on this, man? Let's talk about that.
When I was out there for that episode, you'll see it. I got, strange light in the woods. Got vocalizations, which I get those regularly. Some audio interference. I've got that out there. There's just, it's a weird area, and it's one of my research areas that I go to normally, and I'm starting to think that there's a whole lot more going on out there than just Bigfoot.
When you say auditory variances, was it something that you didn't recognize, or
yeah, it's just the interference part of it was just mic interference, and I don't get that anywhere else but there. And I actually went to the extent of taking copper tape and wrapping my microphone, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't any outside source, and it still only gets it in one area. And that's where I deployed the meat as well. It's just
so you're more like an electromagnetic kind of
yeah, it's kind of like that, like if you were to have some type of cell phone trying to communicate or something, that kind of noise through the microphone, which there's no cell service out there. And I purposely put my cell phone in airplane mode because I don't have service anyway, so it's not really going to matter. But it's just it's one area of the land that's doing that. And I took a EMF meter out there for tonight, and it peaked a little bit, but there's no power lines or anything, so I really don't know what's going on. It's still a open investigation, I guess you could say.
So what drew you to that area that you felt that was where you needed to do that at? And you said it was where you went regularly. So
yeah, like I go out there because it has a ton of sightings, like Bigfoot sightings, tons. And I've researched and spoke to and gathered information and put them on a little map on an app that I use on my phone. And I'm kind of in the center of that. So that's why I use that area, is because I feel that if you're going to see one, that's the hottest place around me right now, besides like a hot, fresh eyewitness or something, that you're going to absolutely have an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Could this be like a natural interference from Mother Nature herself causing this, you think, possibly? I mean, I know that's a possibility.
It is possible. I try not to entertain the woo, as they call it in the Bigfoot community, where you talk about them being interdimensional beings and things like that. But I mean, I personally don't know. I kind of push that aside and I separate the two. I don't like put them together. But I mean, I saw this nice little blue light in the woods. No clue what that was. That was actually on the episode. We've heard chanting in the woods, and there's no people around.
Seriously.
Growls, and the growls that we heard, and I've heard them, there was nothing there. I mean, there was nothing that we could see. And first thing I thought, and I think really honestly, and people were like, well, that's Bigfoot. And I try to write everything off. And it's just like investigating anything paranormal. You try to explain everything. And when you're left with things you can't explain, then that's unexplained. That's what the paranormal is. So, I mean, I try to debunk everything. And I don't just write everything off as Bigfoot. But the growls that we heard on that one episode on the channel, I still don't know what those were. And I went out the next day after. It was about 2 days later. I went out to look for tracks and bear sign because I thought it was a black bear, which they're not supposed to normally be here. But there was no tracks. There was nothing. So I still don't know what that is.
So this blue light that you experienced on the video, could this possibly, be extraterrestrial?
Like light refraction.
Or, that
we're thinking more extraterrestrial.
Yeah, like this was definitely in the woods. And when I went toward it, it went away. It stopped. And because, I mean, there was no light source, period. There's no houses there. There's no roads where it was. I mean, it was literally where I left the meet. When I got out and got into the clearing and looked back, there was a blue light. And none of my game cameras have lights on them. And, I mean, they're game cameras. They're stealthy. But it was only there for a little bit, and then it just went away.
In your opinion, is it more the area you think that's drawing in those occurrences?
That's what I'm focusing on next. I'm going to look at some old maps and things, try to see. I mean, the Native Americans would have known more than anything. Maybe they talked about it. Maybe there's some research out there on what it was, where it was. I know there was houses and stuff there, like before they made the lake, because it's a man-made lake. But all of those are gone. I mean, it's all state land and wildlife area now. So, I mean, it's a real puzzle. But that area is very hot for sightings, and maybe that's why they're there. I mean, maybe that's why they're drawn to the area.
Grand opportunity for a big paranormal investigation.
Yeah. I try to separate the two worlds, but I think I'm going to have to bring the paranormal investigation world into the Bigfoot world for at least one time.
Is there a connection, in your opinion? Do you think, like in your mind, what is Bigfoot consisted of? Is it an earthly, or is it?
My personal opinion, I think it's a flesh and blood creature.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very open to other things as well, because the Native Americans saw them as spiritual beings. There are others that I've spoke to that see them as, interdimensional beings and things like that. And Ron Moorhead, which I spoke to and I've spoke to about, he was like, the longer that you do this, the more you will see that there's something else going on. And I mean, he's from the Sierra Sounds and things like that. So, I mean, the paranormal investigator in me is like, it's paranormal, it's this, it's that. But the researcher side of things, I'm like, nope, you stay over there. It's kind of like having an angel and a devil on your shoulder. Like, I'm like, I'm not listening to that. We're going to stay down this path until we have to go over here. But I think it's definitely two separate phenomena that's going on out there.
And if you think
and some people on the channel are like, well, maybe it's a skinwalker. And I'm like, God, I hope not. But, wow, it could be anything, I guess.
And
I'll tell you something that was weird about this last episode, that when I went out there with the meat, is I saw a black fox twice. We saw it when it crossed the road in front of us, and then we saw it running in front of us. Well, actually in front of me, not us. I was dropped off by that point. After I was dropped off, I saw it running toward down this little gravel road there, and I tried to capture it on camera, but it was a black fox. And I mean, those are not, I've never seen a black fox. They're all red and dark brown.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
it's weird.
Could have been a spiritual animal, man, once in a blue moon.
I mean, I hope that I haven't attracted something that I don't want to attract, but I mean, who knows?
How far are you back in the woods like this, man? Because some people be like, man, you're probably about 2 miles. Or no, he's probably deep.
Yeah, this is deep woods. Like this one area is 1,000 acres for sure. And when you go in, you go down a road, go down another road, and then you're there. And then when you hike in, once I hike in, I mean, I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. There's people that go out there and like hike and stuff every now and then, but it's pretty much a desolate area because they have gates along this little gravel road, which that's a headache itself getting in there, that they lock. So, I mean, people are not normally just there. So, I mean, it's a very isolated area. It's close to a lake. It's right by a river. And, I mean, there's all kinds of wildlife there. It's just a very untouched area.
Have you tried like hitting the stick or whatever, paddle against the tree to see if you get
back? Here's what I like to tell people. I'm not a knocker and I'm not a whooper. I don't like to do either one of those. Now, it's not that I won't try it, but the reason that I don't do that is because I don't know the message that I'm sending.
True.
And I also really don't want them to know where I am when I'm by myself, because I had an incident video before last where I was just out there getting my game camera cards, changing that out, and I went dark just to kind of listen to things, and I got a wood knock. It was very loud. And I think what happened was when I turned the lights off, they lost me. So I think she, whatever, knocked to try to get me to react to it. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to knock back, but we'll continue on our trail. And that's all on the episode. But I think they're very easily confused. And I've got my own theories. I've talked to a lot of people that kind of researching it, saw them, and I'm kind of focusing on little bitty things that they talk about. And I think that they have like almost like autistic type minds where they're very, very intelligent, but they're very easily, distracted by things. Like there have been reports where if hunters are walking through the woods and they split off, they can lose one of them, or it confuses them and they don't know where they are. So, I mean, there's been a lot of things like that happen, and I think that's what I did in this incident. I think when I killed the lights and was sitting there in the dark, he lost me. Yeah. And I almost think that this was probably a sentinel or a watcher, because I think if anything, they would work about like any ape-type community where they have people that their whole job is to make sure that the group is safe. And they're going to let people know. I've had that happen 2 different areas where you'll hear a knock when you go in, you'll hear a knock when you leave. And it's almost like it's saying, hey, they're gone. So
I just thought of the Cheech and Chong, keep on knocking, but you can't come in.
That's right. That's kind of the basis of it. But yeah, I definitely wasn't going to knock back in that circumstance, because that would just be dumb, and be like, hey, here I am. Come find me, because I was stalked out there by something on 2 legs. And then I think there was another one across the little road there, and because I heard the tree break over. So they definitely know who I am when I'm out there. It's I'm a very frequented guest of their living area.
You want to go, RhiAnna?
No, you go. You got it.
She's done now. She's like,
I'm just listening.
So what's the most significant piece of evidence for you personally during this, man, at this location that you found that keeps you going back for more? Is it just the experiences so far?
I mean, I've got vocalizations that I can't explain, but I don't just normally say, hey, it's Bigfoot. But I mean, it's definitely nothing I've heard before. One sounds like a caveman. Then I would say probably I was in the woods. It wasn't this research area. It was what I like to call Area 2 on my site. And I heard claps. It was like something was clapping its hands at me. And I was probably about 50 yards from it. And there was nobody in the woods. I mean, this is private property. There's one way in, one way out as far as that goes. and it was clapping. And I was there with a friend of mine that goes out with me sometimes, and I still don't know what that was, but my personal belief at that time was I think that it was raining really bad that day. And I think that when it wasn't expecting people to be there, so there were two, and we separated them. And I think the one was clapping to distract us from the other one, and then the other one kind of scurried off. And I've got footage of something that looks like it's, kind of going off that direction. I'm not going to make it public because it's not clear enough, and I don't do the whole blob squatch thing. Like I've got pieces of evidence that I look at and I'm like, yeah, that's probably something, but I'm not going to make it public because it's not, Patterson Gimlin quality. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not going to put myself out there like that. I just use it as a piece of evidence for future use. So, I'll use it as a piece of evidence as any normal investigator would and say, okay, I think we got something there. But, I've seen footprints and tracks, and that I can't 100% say they exist. I've seen tracks I can't explain. I've heard vocals that I can't explain. I've been growled at by something I don't know what it was, but I've not seen one. So I can't say that they exist until I see one.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that you know a lot of people in the Bigfoot world and paranormal world. Have you bounced any of this off of them to say, hey, look, let them check this out, see what their thoughts is on this? Has anybody else caught anything?
I'll tell you the funniest thing about that is I don't. Like, I really don't discuss it with, like, some of these folks. And, I mean, I know, like, I work with a lot of folks. I don't, for whatever reason. I mean, the people that I talk to normally are researchers in my area, like Tom Shea and Charlie Raymond, because, we always share and network together and talk about sightings and things like that. And we go out into the field, every now and again together. But I have not really discussed this stuff with anybody that's, I mean, like, literally I have them in my telephone and I could call them. But I don't do that because I separate the two worlds for whatever reason. I mean, if I get something substantial, I mean, I'm definitely going to send it to, like, Cliff or something like that. But until I get something substantial, I don't like taking advantage of, it's weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird
about that. You want it to be more concrete before you present.
Right. Like, I don't like to take friendships like that and say, well, I'm going to just try to swarm them with all this stuff that, I mean, yes, do I think it's something? Yeah. Can I explain it? No. But I'm not going to take them something unless 100% I say, what do you think about this? And I've let Cliff hear some of the vocalizations and stuff. And he's gave his opinion on some of them. But I mean, I'll talk more to Tom Shea and Charlie Raymond about the, like, tracks and things. Because, I mean, they could be here within, 45 minutes if something happened. So, I mean, I try to kind of separate the two, but if I got something substantial, I would definitely send it to, Cliff or Dr. Meldrum, or like vocalizations, I would send it to Ron Moorhead, because I know that he could put me in touch with the right people. So, I mean, I have the resources. I just don't like to do that unless I have something, like, solid.
Would you say this is, like, your hottest spot yet, or no?
If I'm going to see one, it's going to be there. Unless I just go somewhere else and accidentally run upon one. But, I mean, I researched that area with the sole purpose of having a sighting. Because there are so many sightings within that area that I have almost figured out how they get in and out of the area. Almost where hopefully I've got some potential places where I think they're bedded down. And stuff like that. So, I mean, I've really went upon this almost like a criminal investigation. So, I mean, it's like I've got this down to, like, solid. Like, I think if I'm going to see one, this is what I'm going to do. There's reasons I haven't went to where I think they've bedded down because it's dangerous and I want to be ready for that.
Now, are you going to go there alone, or will you have people go with you?
If I go alone, I may not be back. So I may actually have Charlie go with me on that one, just for the simple, for evidentiary purposes and for safety, because 100% I think that is where likely they are, or at least where they sit and stay for a little bit, because that's where a lot of the knocks came from. And I think there's a reason that they're knocking from there, and that's to let the others know, hey, something's going on here. So, I mean, they're all over that area though. There've been like really hot sightings that have not been made public. That I mean, I've got the pins where they've been. So, yeah, if I'm going to see one, that's why I work that area. Now, I work another area that's more like I think it's more of a pass through, but I think the one area that's area 1 on the videos is 100% a place where they have a habitat.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, if you are listening and watching, we appreciate it for sure. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat room, and I'll get these to Jeff and let him answer them. Straight up, still didn't find Bigfoot. What if he is not real? And if he is, what would you do if you find him?
Here's the thing: I don't know if he's real or not. But I can't explain the tracks in the woods. I can't explain the vocalizations. And I'm not saying I don't believe that he's not real, but I can't 100% give you evidence that he is.
Yeah.
Or she. I mean, there would have to be both. One common misconception that people have is that there is one Bigfoot. That's just not the case. Okay. I know within my area alone, there are at least 2 family groups, because there's no way that they're the same group of Bigfoots based on the sightings and their behaviors. And I think that there is something there. I can't give you 100% evidence because I haven't seen one. Now, when I see one, I'll be like, yep, it's there. Now, I believe the people that have seen them. You know, I've talked to a lot of credible people, talked to a lot of credible researchers, and I believe their stories. I mean, but for me, I'm a show me type person. You know, the tracks are awesome. The vocalizations are awesome. The growls are cool. But I want to see it. I need to see it where I can understand what's going on.
Could these just be wolves and bears that we've just not heard sounds of them before? Possibly, man? Or
no, we don't have wolves in our area. And I would know a wolf if I heard it, because I mean, it's a wolf. They're pack animals. Bear, no, bear sounds are different. The sounds that I've recorded, you'll hear, they travel with coyotes in my area at least. And a lot of times you'll hear the coyotes and they'll do their normal old yips and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden you'll hear this really high-pitched or low-pitched type howl, and the coyotes just stop. So it's like the woods go quiet.
Oh,
and that's the
scared.
eeriest thing ever. When you hear the woods go quiet, something is going on. And you need to pay attention to that. Like when the wood knock happened on the episode before last, you heard a little bit of chatter from the birds, like it disturbed them, and then it was quiet.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, oh, that's not a good thing. But it's nothing that I've ever heard. I've been in the woods a lot. I've heard a lot of vocals. I've actually sent some stuff to some bioacoustics folks that I know that I've found through the internet. And they were like, I don't really know what that is. I mean, it's not anything that's within our database, so I don't know. But the one sound that I recorded was, you heard all the coyotes and everything yipping, and then it sounded like a caveman. It was like going, oi, 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 and it was really loud. And there's nothing that's making a noise like that naturally.
There was a video that was posted maybe a year or 2 ago that I found very interesting. It was on a hunting group, and they put it into the Bigfoot page that I follow on Facebook. You see this guy in a tree stand, and you hear these dogs just absolutely going crazy. And then it's just like you said, man, just everything just instantly just quiet. Just there was a big yelp, and it just instantly quiet. Yeah,
well, you never want the woods to go quiet, because you know that there's something there that's made them go quiet, and that's the unusual part of things. I don't know what I'm dealing with yet. I know for sure that I'm dealing with, there's definitely Bigfoot creatures there, but I really don't know to what extent that all of this is surrounding them. That's the scary part.
Pink nuggets, whatever. Why I care so much is because it's something that we like. If you don't like what we talk about, you don't have to come into the stream. You can go right on. It's totally fine. This is just something that we believe in and something that we want to talk about. So, there.
Right.
See ya. Anyway, so let's move on to a little bit of paranormal stuff because this is something that I love, and I know RhiAnna loves it too. So, What have you been doing here lately with paranormal stuff? Have you been doing any investigations? Because I know
we did with the Nick Groff tour. We did Goldfield Hotel, and then we did Waverly. So that was a couple months ago. We finished those. So that was the most recent paranormal investigation stuff I've done. I mean, I do that stuff all the time, and that's what I like. You'll notice with the channel, I don't publicize that side of things because I try to separate the two worlds. So, but I've been a paranormal researcher and ghost investigator for over 20 years. I mean, I've been to some of the craziest places you could ever imagine across the country. But I do separate the two research worlds because I try to, give them their own spot, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me back up here because Pink Nuggets come back in here and just wanted to say that he was just trying to figure out what's our point of view with it. Well, we're just trying to actually. It's just like paranormal or anything else. I mean, you try to gather as much information on your research as you can, and if you can present that information and what you research out there, then maybe it gives a little bit of light on what Jeff's doing and what we like to do.
Well, here's the kind of the thing on it is, there's so much out there that's just crap.
That's true.
And, and I try to, this is what I kind of come across on the channel is I am not there for entertainment purposes. I will entertain you because I'm entertaining, but that's not my goal. Okay. My goal is to spread knowledge and to spread awareness and to actually try to make some headway in the research area. Now, trust me, if I show you a Bigfoot on YouTube, you're never going to believe it. Okay, that's just the way that it is. There's so much stuff out there. I could show you Bigfoot with HD footage, and you'll be like, okay, that's not real. He's just trying to get
man in a
used.
suit. Furry
Yeah, it's a man in a. Trust me, there are very good suits out there nowadays.
HD.
Yeah, so I mean, anything to this point is going to be skeptical. But the one thing that I try to do is I want to make people aware of this stuff because there are people out there, even within my state, that are having horrible issues with these type creatures, and it's like they are a vermin to them. Okay, so they may have a farm, and they're having all of this nuisance type activity taking place where they may be killing their livestock, they may be doing this, they may be doing that, and they hate them. They're not out there saying, "Oh, look, Bigfoot." And that's one thing I try to get across too is it's not the big cuddly creature that pop culture has made it into. This is a feral creature. So if you are in the woods with this, or if it comes upon your property and you survive, you're lucky. Okay? Because, you don't know what its intentions are. So, when I go out there into the research areas, that is what I know. I don't go out there looking for the Jack Link's Bigfoot. All right? I go out there looking for a flesh and blood creature that could possibly kill me. And with the channel, that's what I will be doing with all cryptids. I'm going out there looking for any cryptid across America for the flesh and blood creature part of it until they show me that they are otherwise. So, I don't know, enjoy it.
Tickle time with Bigfoot. Come here.
That's right. Oh, look, it's a big furry Bigfoot. No, it will kill you. Don't do that. Don't feed them. Okay, let's not do that. Habituation is not it's not recommended.
It's like people with bears. Oh, look at the bear. He's so pretty.
Yeah, it's gonna eat you. Like I remember there was a video floating around of these people in Tennessee where these bear cubs are running across the road, and they were like, "Oh, look at the bear cubs," and I'm like, "The mother will eat you. That is a stupid idea. Don't do that."
Okay, we've got a question in the chat. Do y'all think there could be some unexplained missing persons or murders out there that could be attributed to Bigfoot attacks?
Very good.
100%.
Very good. And that
100%.
That came from Shane O'Drano, my buddy who I work with. Shane
I know Dave Pilatus. I've talked to him quite frequently about this whenever we can talk. And I love how his approach to it is he does not explain the missing 411 stuff that he researches. And that's awesome. I love it because he does really good work for people and missing people. But I think there are people that are missing because of these strange creatures in our woods, national parks, and state parks. So 100%. And my belief is yes.
That's so cool. And Shane brought up, that's a good point, man. I never thought of that, honestly. That could, I mean, that's a very, very good possibility. I mean, look what mountain lions do to people, and look what bears have done to people.
People talk about Dog Man, this werewolf type creature. Look, I've got a Dog Man shirt on. But, people talk about Dog Man, and then, do you think that's real? And if you see one and you get it out enough to talk about it, good luck. You're lucky. Because that would be the apex predator in any environment. I mean, if you have a large wolf-type creature stalking anything in your land, it is the apex predator. So, I mean, it is going to 100% take care of anything it wants to, if it wants to.
All right, so I want your opinion on the, and I know people's gonna laugh at me when I say this, who's out there listening, but this happened a couple days ago, and I know RhiAnna knows about this as well because it's been all over Facebook. The lights here in Eastern Kentucky. Supposedly it was about SpaceX from Elon Musk, about the satellites and Wi-Fi and internet stuff like that. I mean, I don't know whether I believe it or not, but what's your opinion, man? What have you been hearing?
It could be anything. I mean, our military and our government has stuff that we don't know about. Sure. And they could absolutely say, I think that's why they're coming out with some of this, admitting that aliens and UFOs exist, or more or less they admit that UFOs exist. They don't really talk about who's powering them, although they say an intelligent, being. But I think that sometimes they let some of this stuff out because we got technology that, I mean, we don't even know about. I mean, look at the whole Bin Laden thing. When they were flying those stealth helicopters, we didn't know those existed, So, I mean, there's also rumors that they actually have contact lenses that are night vision that they use on some of this stuff. So all of this technology is out there. Now, the lights, I mean, who knows? I mean, you're close to some military bases there as well. You got Fort Campbell around there. You got Fort Knox that would easily be around that area. They could be there in minutes. So,
yeah, there were a lot of lights tonight. It was just a big, long, straight line of lights, man. I mean,
how close are y'all to Brown Mountain?
I have no idea where it's out.
I'm not close.
Is that
I have to look that up. Shane Waldridge,
yeah.
Look at Brown Mountain.
I'm trying to think which state it's in, but I think Eastern Kentucky's pretty close to that area.
Wow.
But they got like the Brown Mountain lights, and I mean, there's lights in the woods. Like I've seen one, this past weekend. There's this little blue light in the woods. Shouldn't have been there. So I don't know. It's weird.
Do you think that we're getting more, I guess, exposures from these creatures and cryptids now than ever before?
No. The reason why you know so much about it is because the internet. You got to think of it like this, and this is what people say to me all the time. People are like, man, it's such a violent world now. I'm like, you've obviously not read newspapers from the 1800s.
It's always been that way. We're just now.
It's always been that way. Yeah, where it's just easier. We can hear about it now. Where it used to be, it may take you a week or a month to get, an article about it. Well, we know about it immediately now. Within minutes. You can have a video online of a shooting or something. So, I mean, I've read some crazy articles from back in the day doing research for ghost stuff, and you're like, wow, these people are just sheltered. I think that us as a society have the world at our fingertips, and we forget that. And that's why everything seems so substantial now. I love reading those old articles and things about creatures because they had to have seen something. Mm-hmm. I mean, they went out on a manhunt in some cases with guys with rifles in the woods. So, I mean, there was some reason to gather a posse of people.
Something.
Yeah, I mean, they had to have seen something. So, I mean, you can't discount that stuff. I think now we're just kind of, we're in a world where, as a society, we're very nurtured. And when something bad happens, we're like, oh no, what's going to happen now? And it's been happening for centuries. I mean, it's just the way that it's our world. We're humans. We're apes that like to kill each other. That we've been doing ape things for years. Our ape brain says, "Oh, well, let's do this." Like in a circumstance, a good example of this is like, say somebody is hunting squirrel for whatever reason, or rabbit, and say they kill two or three, and their ape brain says, well, let's keep killing them. It's not to feed their family. It's just the ape part of us that says, let's go on a frenzy and let's keep shooting things and killing things. We still have those primal instincts. I mean, they're never going to go away. They're part of us. They're ingrained in our deep roots. So I think that we just forget that stuff.
Shane says that Brown.
That's kind of deep, I guess.
That's true. Shane said that Brown Mountain lights are in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking it was North Carolina. So, yeah, I mean, there's lights. Those are some of the famous ones. So, but this could have just been a UFO. I mean,
possibility.
Kentucky has had some of the hottest UFO sightings in history.
Oh my God.
We've had abductions. We've had the Thomas Mantell incident. We had the UFO chase in Louisville. I mean, we've had some very famous UFO cases. The Kelly Little Green Men, the Hopkinsville Goblins case.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those, they're very famous. And I'm going to be doing an episode of Monster Bait on those, on the Goblins. That's breaking news. So there you go.
Breaking news on the podcast.
So I grew up in an area called Hellier, Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
There was articles and stuff about the goblins and little creatures in the mountains there. And there's all kinds of lights there too.
Okay, so you want to know the backstory on that whole thing and how they connected Hellier to Hopkinsville? So Greg and Dana Newkirk, what you need to watch the Hellier series because it's really cool. And it takes a really deep dive into weird stuff. So watch that. It's on YouTube and Amazon Prime. Yeah. But Greg and Dana Newkirk are friends. And we talk about weird things a lot. I like to always look at their haunted things. And if I get haunted objects, I give it to them. So I told them, I was like, that the cave systems run deep around Kentucky. And I said, what if the Hopkinsville Goblins did not go away? What if their craft crashed? They went into the cave system, to seek some type of safety.
So
cave
I have
systems
a picture
are
that a
connected.
neighbor sent me on the mountain behind my mom's house in Hellier that she claimed was where the earth collapsed after a rainstorm, which it may have been, but it is just a big giant hole on the side of the mountain there.
My personal opinion is I don't think the goblins left. I think they were stranded. And I think now they have to be if they still exist based upon however many was on the craft, which it seemed like many, based on what I've talked to Geraldine Sutton Stith. She's the descendant that does a lot of the research on it, but I mean, it was a lot that stormed that cabin back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that, spacecraft went down. They're stranded. What do we do next? Do we go into the cave system? And now maybe we kind of adapt ourselves to cave dwelling type stuff, and we travel the caves. I don't know that they ever left. I just think that they may be underground, unless, another ship came and said, hey, guys, get in, let's go. And then they left. So, I mean, who knows? But
I had one experience at Hellier too. I'm going to shut up about it in just a second. But we were all dead asleep. Okay, every one of us shot up because the loudest crack and boom I've ever heard in my life. Every one of us shot up, and my mother, who was in no way a paranormal.
Now look, let me kind of translate here. She don't mean like shoot up like with drugs. She means like they woke up. This is Kentucky talk, okay?
Out the bed, honey.
We got up. We woke up.
All of us jumped up out the bed.
Yep.
And my mother, who is the biggest skeptic, no paranormal belief whatsoever, said that was not thunder. Like, I don't know what it was, but it was scary, and it was so loud that it hurt. And it was just like the brightest light, like looked like the sun was coming up, because I just so happened to be looking out the window, and it looked like dawn coming, and boom. And we all met in the living room freaking out. So
Yeah,
something's going on out here. I
there's a
know
lot
that.
of weird stuff going on. I think in Kentucky as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, even the Native Americans back in the day, they seen it as kind of a mysterious place. So I mean, I think as a whole that Kentucky's got a lot going on, and that's why that I think the area that I'm in, or at least the one area that I work in, um, I am 100% on guard every time I go out there because I don't know what's going to happen next. And that's it can get intense out there. Now the other area that I work with that I like to call Area 2, I mean I kind of know what happens there. It's kind of a pass through. I'm not really. Now I did have something growl at me, but it was a bobcat, I think. But out there in Area 1, I don't know. All bets are off at this point. I don't know what's going on out there. Bigfoot's there for probably.
Here's something going. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
Hey, here's something that Shane brought up too, and I was actually going to mention this, but this is in our backyard for me and RhiAnna here in Eastern Kentucky. The Paintsville UFO train collision that happened in 2002.
That's another famous one.
And then that was like, I mean, shoved under the carpet, man. You heard nothing else about it, and done.
Yeah, you ain't gonna hear much about some of that stuff, and there's probably been other incidents that we will never know about.
Right.
I think there was an incident in Moorhead where they heard this lady screaming, and people called the 911 because of it, and they kind of swept that under the rug. They have a good way of sweeping things under the rug. I've been waiting 2 years on the Mammoth Cave Bigfoot shooting records, and I still haven't got them. I talk to the Mammoth Cave office every other week, checking on the Freedom of Information Act request that I sent. It's still tied up in the regional office.
You want
to tied up?
So, yep, still tied up.
You want to read that? What Shane put in there, RhiAnna? I think
yeah.
That's
actually, Shane Hellier is on the eastern side towards more Elkhorn City, Shelby Gap area. It's southeastern. There's some, so he's suggesting in western Kentucky, there's a lot of seismic activity there. The lights sound like earthquake lights, which are real phenomenon.
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
look
western
into that
Kentucky.
much.
Yeah. The thing about eastern Kentucky is there's so many mountains in there. I mean it could be anything. I mean literally anything, and some of that natural phenomenon we forget about, because we don't experience it enough, because a lot of people live in big cities. But when you get out there in the wilderness, you see things and you hear things, and you're like, I don't know what that is.
Yep. And I love talking to the old timers, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean it as these.
That's true. Yeah, I do too. I like to talk to people.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another thing that I tell people all the time. People are like, well, do you wear scent cover or anything when you go out there? I'm like, that's a myth.
Yep.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I knew people that went out hunting, smoked cigarettes, drank coffee, wore blue jeans and flannel shirts, and they killed more animals than anybody else.
Yep.
I was like, that stuff where you have to go buy this and buy that. I was like, if you know anybody that's a real hunter, they didn't do a whole lot of that. They may have wore camo, and they may put a little doe urine or something on themselves, but they wasn't doing all that scent cover and, all that kind of thing. So trust me, I've been within 20 yards of a deer, and it didn't know I was there. It looked right at me. It didn't care. So, I mean, once you're in the woods enough, you get away from the city thinking of things, and you get back down to the bare bones tactics. That's why I like going by myself, because when I'm by myself, my senses are heightened, and I'm like, I'm depending on myself to get out of there alive. And that's kind of what I go for. I enjoy going out by myself because you learn more about the environment and how it reacts to you.
It's like as I was getting ready to say, when you talk to the old timers and they tell you don't go in the mountains or don't go up those woods,
right?
You don't go up those mountains, or you don't go in those
no, you don't. No, you listen to them. That's what you need to do. You need to listen, because they know something you don't. And when somebody tells me, "Oh, I've seen a black panther, I've seen a mountain lion," well, I'm gonna listen to him, because he knows what he's looking at. And I'm going to say, well, where'd you see that? It was over there. Okay, well, I may want to go over there and look if I'm looking for one. But that's the thing. Back in the day, you listen to those old timers. They know what they're talking about.
I had a question. I just totally lost my train of thought. You got me fired up about Bigfoot and all this other stuff, man, going on. Yeah, we especially for Kentucky, and we're going to get into some paranormal stuff here too in a minute, because I know RhiAnna
Quick
loves
question,
paranormal.
John. I
Yeah.
Yeah, roll on. Ask
have
anything.
some questions on my Facebook Live, but I can't get it to connect to this. It's coming up as comments on Facebook instead of here in the chat. So I'm
Go
going to try
ahead.
to switch over. You might be
That's
able to
fine.
hear me, but every time I try to switch back over, it lags. I apologize, but I'm going to read the question.
Oh, you're fine.
We're
Go right
trying
ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay.
I can still hear you. Can't hear you now. See, that's the problem with Restream is like I'll have to have like another platform
Right.
here to open up for Facebook
Where you can look at everything. Yeah.
and I don't want 15 tablets open for things like that. You know what I'm saying? So Restream's good. Here we go. I think RhiAnna come back here and then she left. But anyway, here we go. Here she is.
Okay, so sorry. For some reason, it won't let me connect the two if I try to jump over and get questions from there. But it was a local, actually. I'm pretty sure he has some like demonologist background and things like that. But he was asking about a Nephilim. Oh Lord, I can't remember. It was trying to remember all his questions and then jump back over. But one of them was, do you believe that there is a level of intelligence in the cryptic
Yep.
people?
Oh, sure.
100%.
And
Yeah.
then it was, yeah, there was like 5 questions. I'm sorry, I got flabbergasted trying to.
There's a
remember all
lot
that.
of things that I won't make public right now that I've shared and we've discussed upon locally with other researchers. And eventually I will make public. But the reason I don't make it public is because it's a piece of evidence that I have that I'm like, okay, if somebody gives me a sighting or something, I can use this. It's almost like a criminal investigation. And, you know things about the crime that others don't know.
Mm.
And so if they tell you this stuff, you're like, okay, well, they're factual. So it's all about how their camo works, their hair works, how their tracking system works, how they know where they're at in an area. All of that stuff, I'm getting very close and talking to others within my area that are very, very close on figuring some of that stuff out, and that's going to help us. So we kind of keep that stuff close to the cuff right now because we want to see if that can be beneficial as far as sightings go. We don't want people to see it and be like, okay, well, I'm going to base my sighting around that if it's some type of hoax or something. But I kind of figured they are very stealthy and they're very intelligent and they know what they're doing. They're the ultimate woodsman, I guess you could say. As far as the Nephilim goes, I mean, that's ancient stuff. So they talked about that stuff in the Bible and scriptures and things. So
yeah, he was talking about, he said something about how he had dealt with alien abductions and stuff in his church group,
yeah,
and he'd studied into things like connections with sightings of creatures and abductions and things like that.
yeah. There's a lot to roll out.
I hope to get more technologically advanced and figure out how I can connect those two because we missed like 7 questions because it won't let me see that one and this one. So
yeah, and I'm still learning on this too, folks. And for everybody who's out there posting questions and things like that, I tremendously apologize. We're trying, but when it's just us and we're the ones running the show, it's kind of hard to go back and click here, click there.
I feel you there.
It's just hard. But what Jeff's doing and bringing this to the forefront and for more evidence and research is pretty phenomenal because a lot of people just won't touch this stuff. I mean, it's taboo. They just won't touch it.
Yeah, it's people don't like to work with it. People don't like to mess with it. And me personally, I like to. I personally think that there's something to it, and I dedicate a lot of time and energy into it.
I want to know it. I'd rather look out and see what I can find and learn. I mean, I'm not going to just
Yeah.
shove something under the rug and be like, oh, that's not real.
Well, here's the
This is
thing.
the real
You
world.
know, people are like, well, how can this stuff exist? Well, if you've never went out into an area where it could possibly exist, then you don't understand how it can exist.
How can it not?
I mean, we can't be so close-minded to think that everything's been discovered in America. We have no apes. We have no monkeys in America. So, I mean, why couldn't we have them? We have woods. They can definitely adapt to this type of thing, but, who knows? It's strange. It's weird. It's taboo. People don't like to deal with it. People don't like to talk about ghosts. People don't want to talk about stuff like that because, they're afraid of how they'll be judged. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I get looked at weird. I get looked, weird looks because I like paranormal stuff.
Yep.
And hey,
I'm a spooky girl. I have no issues.
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't talk a lot openly about a lot of my Bigfoot research and things. I mean, people watch the channel that I know and things like that, and they think it's neat. But I mean, I'm not doing it for just views and things. I mean, I do like that because it helps me with research, but. Sure. I'm doing it to try to spread awareness, and that's when I start doing these other episodes on other cryptids across the country. That's just to spread awareness, and I want to basically take these stories and I want to put them somewhere where people can learn about them, and then that may open them up to maybe 10 years down the line. A kid was watching my channel and they discovered Bigfoot because they got inspired by something that they saw. So I mean, I do it to kind of help the future as well, where it's like an analog of my research. It's like an archive. So
or they took something that you did and just blew it up more possibly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's I try to give tips about being in the woods by yourself and being safe and how to react with animals, because if you're going to be out there looking for this stuff, you better understand quickly how the world works when you're in the woods.
Oh yeah, you're going to run into everything out in the
woods. And it's going to be the stuff that will actually eat you.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's documented animals that will actually eat you. So, I mean, you got to be aware of all that.
And we were talking about the paranormal here just a little bit ago, and I want your thoughts on some of this.
Okay.
Do you feel like, I know this is a crazy question, but I thought about this a lot during this pandemic. Do you think the pandemic has opened the veil more, or has the veil always been open?
I think it's always been open. I think it just made people more aware. More because they were home or whatever the situation was, or they were bored. And I think that's the reason why. I mean, the pandemic, I don't think it was any type of magical anything. I think that it just made people more open, more aware, more aware of their area. They were home more. When you're home more, you may find out you have a ghost. Besides being home maybe 6 or 8 hours a day.
Shane put in here that personally, I think most alien abduction is sleep paralysis, but I consider the possibility of interdimensional beings or time travelers. That's a possibility as well. But there's some stories, man, of alien abduction that I just cannot explain, especially like one.
I'll tell you, the alien abductions I pay attention to are the ones that did not happen in their house.
Yeah, like the one from Stanford, the Stanford abduction from January 6th of 76 in Stanford, Kentucky. That's
I actually talked to one of those ladies. I interviewed one of those ladies. And I mean, it was very fascinating to hear her side of the story. She is actually the last survivor. She's the only one. I guess she's still alive, but she told me quite a bit about it. And I've talked to Travis Walton and spent quite a bit of time with him. And people that are actually abducted, you can tell that there's just something different. You can tell that they've been through a traumatic experience of some kind. So, I mean, I really pay attention to those abductions that did not happen in their own house. Now, in their own house, who's to say it's not sleep paralysis? But when you're in a car or you're out in the woods like Travis Walton was or something, that's a little different there.
It's very true. Very, very, very true. Well, back to the paranormal. We keep going back to the alien and UFO stuff, which I like a lot, but I dig my paranormal stuff. What's been some of your close encounters with the paranormal here lately? Have you had any good investigations? Which we won't talk about any residential.
Not really. Not really. I mean, I don't have time for residential cases anymore because I do tell people all the time When you're getting into residential cases, that's a commitment, and you got to be 100% dedicated to that family.
Yeah.
And I just don't have that time. I don't mind to consult with people, but I mean, that's a commitment. It ain't just me going in a house and saying you have some ghost. I mean, you got to really.
And you'd have to
it's
stick
more
around to put it away. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I look at it from that standpoint because John Zaffis and folks like that, that's the way it is supposed to be done. It ain't. I mean, that's the way it is. It ain't just going into a house and looking for a little bit and going home. That's what TV teaches us, and that's not the way it is. I mean, it's a commitment, and I think that's one thing that Zaffis told me was, and it stuck, was it is a commitment. You got to be committed to that family. That's just old school. That's the way it should be. If you got a residential case with kids and things involved, yes, you got to be dedicated to that family all the time. But I haven't really had any good experiences, nothing crazy that, lately. I've heard footsteps and things, but that would probably be fascinating to some people. But I mean, I've seen like 10 or 12 actual apparitions. So, I mean, once you've got into stuff like that, you're like, oh, that's footstep. That's a voice. You're like, you never can explain any of it. So you kind of get numb to some of it unless you actually see one.
Yeah, and that was like me. I was in it for so long that, I mean, some stuff really shocked me and surprised me, but it didn't really. Well, there was a few times I ran scared, throwing my equipment and running. I ain't gonna lie. I'm a big
I mean, it can be intense.
It sure can, but I'm like you. Footsteps don't bother me, or seeing an apparition walk by or block a light out don't bother me, or it's like, it's kind of like I've said it before.
It's part of it,
What about you, RhiAnna? You got any questions for me about paranormal side? Because I know that's your spooky side.
So your updated video was, I think it was a month ago on YouTube, where you were at Waverly, doing an investigation, and I just wanted to say, first off, I have not been there since that renovation, and that bathroom was gorgeous.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, they really put a lot of work into that.
Had you been there before? Was there anything new?
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there probably 4 or 5 times. So I mean, it's
one of my favorite places in the world.
It's a neat place, and but there's far more scarier places. If you're looking for, active places that are consistent, go to a smaller place, because man, that place is big. You go to a big place, it's going to be hard to get stuff because you got to be at the right place, right time. Oh yeah, it is. It's an amazing place.
And I want to explain to people, paranormal is not like a light switch, and that's a whole cliche everybody uses.
It takes time.
Like a light switch, exactly right, dude. You may go to 15 locations before you even get a hello or a knock or something respond back to you. And then when that first happens, man, you talk about the chill bumps and your hair standing on the back of your neck, man. That's that rush. That's that rush that you get. But
100% on that.
Did you see like anything? Well, I mean, did you have anything go on at Waverly since they've done the renovation? No.
I mean, I'd like to tell you yes. I mean, I think I saw the crawler, but I mean, I'm not sure. The thing that crawls around the ceilings and things, but I'm not 100% sure. It was definitely a shadow of some kind. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I don't have anything happen on these events, and sometimes I do. So I don't know.
And it's kind of hard, man. And you're running with Nick Groff on this tour that he's doing. You've got probably 50 people on this tour. Yeah. That's hard to even try to give.
We had 100, but it was split up between the floors. So I mean, you don't know they're around, and they're pretty well organized and calm whenever they're with you. So I just didn't have anything happen, but it don't mean that nothing didn't happen 2 hours after we left. I mean, it's just inconsistent. That's why science can't regulate it. They can't measure it.
Okay. So my buddy Shane put in here, I would love to see something like that. No, because
it's like, different. It changes your views on things. It really does. I mean, once you see something like that, you won't look at the world the same again. I'll tell you that right now.
That's
You're always looking.
It changes your views on everything, and it keeps your mind where you're like, I don't know what that was, and I don't know how it relates to my beliefs. Yeah. So I mean, it will change your world. So I don't know if everybody's ready for that.
And the people who experience this and who's been in the field for a long time, I mean, I got out of it, but I just love the podcasting point of it and bringing people to talk about it more. But once you're in the field, your hindsight, man, is just like you're always on your toes.
Yeah.
And you never. I don't know. I'm not telling anybody not to get
investigative constantly. Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah, I'm not telling nobody to not get into paranormal, but if
just do your research on it.
Yeah.
Do your research, read some books, and get yourself ready for it.
Well, good sir, as always. I love having you on here. You're a big supporter of anything.
Hey, anytime. I'm happy to come talk weird things anytime. I feel we didn't really get into it, but I mean, it's there's so much.
There's so many topics to jump
when
around,
you dabble in everything, it's so much. I mean, my channel, they definitely check that out, and I go out all the time. I mean, it's constant. I upload at least once a week, and I've got viewers from all over the world. So I'll share this with them on there and let them see it. But I've got people from, I mean, literally every country you can imagine, like Slovakia and Iran, and they like to see me go in the woods for whatever reason.
I think what we should do is like once a month have you back on here for a big update.
Hey, we can do it. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care to come on. I like coming on here and talking weird things.
Yeah. Thanks, Shane.
People on Facebook Live, we will be working on figuring this out so we can get more questions in and get a big Q&A going and get more information out there for viewers.
We may just have to have somebody just watch the stream and then relay it to us.
On a different.
But if you want to find the channel, my webpage is monsterbaittv.com. And that's got the link to the YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. You can donate. You can look at Amazon links to books. You can, whatever. Every little donation helps. You can join the channel if you wish, because it helps me put gas in the car. So, if I'm going out in the woods, I need a good thermal if anybody wants to donate one. I've got one, but it ain't the best. But, I just, whatever. It don't matter if I get $10 from anything. I'm still out there every week. I'll still be out there by myself.
Get out and support my bro, Jeff Waldridge, and everything that he does. These days it's going
to keep watching. It'd be good stuff. There'd be good stuff coming here.
And please get out and support my other podcast I do. It's Bod's Mayhem Hour podcast. It's on YouTube, and plus Beyond the Paranormal. That's awesome out there.
A couple other things. CryptidCon.com. That's the convention we do in Lexington. It's a good place to go for that. And then, if you're looking for Nick Groff Tour stuff, nickgrofftour.com. You can come out and investigate with us. And Lee and Jennifer Kirkland are my partners and all that kind of stuff. And then creepytalent.com. If you're looking for people to come speak at your events, it's people that we represent. And I don't know. It's kind of weird. Sometimes I don't put enough value into that stuff, but I just don't like, I don't know. I don't want people to like, I try to be very modest about things. I don't want people to think that I'm trying to be famous, because I don't want to be famous. It's your
life. You support it. Let's go.
Yeah, I never want to be famous. FYI, that's why I do a YouTube channel, not television. I don't want to be controlled by anything.
Yeah, you can have so much that you do. You just oversaturate yourself, and everybody's like, "Oh God, where do I even start to go with?" Just keep.
So check it out. Was a pleasure being here with you all.
I appreciate it. Guys, gals, thank you all so much. And everyone who's put anything in the chat room, I appreciate it. And for my co-host, RhiAnna, and for Mr. Jeff Waldridge, thank you all so much. And we'll see you next Tuesday with Mr. Paul Browning. He's going to be our guest, and hopefully we'll have some more guests lined up and hopefully knock your socks off. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.